Enzo kalaban ang katiwalian at kasinungalingan, kakampi sa katotohanan at kabutihan.
Tila pa easy-easy lang itong si Sara Duterte sa kanyang nalalapit na impeachment trial nitong darating na Hunyo. Dahil po mga kabunyog, sinabi po niya dito sa kanyang interview na ipapaubaya na lang raw niya ang resulta ng kanyang impeachment trial sa kanyang mga abogado. At kumpiyansya siya na maipapanalo niya itong laban na ito. Grabe. Ang lakas talaga ng fighting spirit nitong si Sara. Pero ganito din ba ang kanyang magiging fighting spirit kung mahatulan na siya ng guilty sa Senado? Well, tingnan natin ang yabang nitong si Sara pag hinatulan na siya ng guilty sa Senado. Anyway, ito mga kabunyog, panoorin po natin itong balita.
Handa sa anumang resulta ng impeachment trial. Ito ang binigyang diin ngayon ni Vice President Sara Duterte nang muling tanungin tungkol sa kanyang impeachment. Ayon sa pangalawang Pangulo, hindi na niya ito iniisip dahil ipinauubaya na niya ang preparasyon para rito sa kanyang legal team.
I've not been thinking about that. I leave it up to the lawyers to prepare for the impeachment. They've been preparing for it since the moment one of the members of the House of Representatives announced that there will be an impeachment, and that was October 2023. So right now, I leave it up to the lawyers.
Mariinding sinabi ng Vice Presidente na payapa siya kahit siya'y maabsuelto o mapatunayang may sala sa nasabing trial.
No, as I said in the stage earlier, I will not talk about my impeachment because people might think that this is about my interests. I told them that you just leave the impeachment to me, and I am at peace. I am at peace whatever the outcome of the impeachment trial will be, whether it be acquitted or guilty. I have already accepted that, the two possibilities.
Sa mga naunang pahayag ni VP Duterte, sinabi nito na tiwala siya sa legal team na humahawak ng napipintong impeachment case laban sa kanya. Tiwala rin ang abogado niya na kaya nilang maipanalo ang kinakaharap na impeachment case ng pangalawang Pangulo.
Yan mga kabunyog, narinig po natin itong mga sinabi ni Sara sa kanyang interview. Nakumpiyansya siya na maipapanalo niya ang kaso at magiging at peace pa rin daw siya kung mapatunayan na guilty ito. Hay naku Sara, lokohin mo lilong mo, ikaw magiging payapa. Baka magwala ka pa dyan pag na-convict ka. At alam mo ba, lalong masasaktan ang iyong tatay kung ma-convict ka dahil mawawalan na sila ng pag-asa na makabalik pa sa kapangyarihan. Well, sana nga mangyari yan. Anyway, balik po tayo sa topic. Hindi ka na ba natuto, Sara? Di ba nagpa-AC-AC kayo noon sa banta ng ICC na kesyo? Hindi naman hulihin si Digong ng ICC dahil wala naman raw jurisdiction ito dito sa Pilipinas. Pero ano ang nangyari sa pa-AC-AC ninyo? Ayon yung ama mo nakakulong doon sa ICC, diba? Well, tama yan ginagawa mo. Baliwalain mo lang yan dahil yan ang ikakabagsak mo. Anyway, ito Sara, pakinggan mo itong sinabi ng isang batikang abogado. Kahit yung raw na 2 article of impeachment mo, pwede ka nga ma-convict doon, kaya sige pa easy-easy lang. Nasa huli ang pagsisisi, diba?
Yung binabanggit nyo about the psychological makeup of the Vice President, how important is that? Or is that even relevant dito sa upcoming trial? How do you see it?
It is very relevant because there is a Article 7, which really is what we call a catch-all article of impeachment, and this relates to fitness for public office. No? Is she really fit for public office? All of these, whether Article 1 on threatening, Article 2 on the confidential funds, Article 3 on bribery, Article 4 extrajudicial killings, tokang and all that. No? All of these, even if this were not proven, there is still an Article 7, which really is a catch-all provision on betrayal of public trust and fitness for her continuing in public office. And I think and this is where it becomes relevant when you show your emotions, your rage, when you use intemperate, you use abusive language, when you put people down, when you offensive, libelous language, that shows your emotional instability. Lutang nga eh. But not
Okay.
only when you're a public official and you refuse to account, for your own duties, no? Kasi right now tinitignan niya yung mga campaign promises ng presidente. Tignan naman natin ano yung campaign promise niya as vice president.
Mm-mm.
And I looked at that. No? She had several promises, and if you look at the Wikipedia, if you see, she hasn't fulfilled any of them. Empowering women, small and medium enterprises. This is as office of the vice president, no? And creating stability, etc., creating jobs and all that. You look at her scorecard. So, if you look at that scorecard, she should be more worried about her performance and looking at president's performance. And she also is part. Remember, nag-investigate also on fake news. No?
Mm.
She is perpetrating fake news. Lumabas na merong sabina today or yesterday, she was being summoned by the Department of Justice because of a complaint filed by the NBI on similar circumstances as Article 1. No? Yung threats and inciting to sedition. And she said that she would comply. But together with that, she came out with the fake news. I don't know if it's fake news or if she was misled into believing that there was also a coming warrant for her arrest at the ICC.
Mm.
So, creating disinformation. What does that show? It shows not only an emotional issue, a mental issue. Diba? If you cannot discern, as a public official, you must be able to discern well. On top of that, you are a lawyer, and you have to know the law. You have to know judicial process. She claims about there are many things. So,
Attorney, very.
going back to your question, you think this is relevant? It is very relevant.
Okay.
Yung pagkakalutang niya, yung enrage niya, yung her emotional, her being dysfunctional is very relevant.
Okay. Basahin ko na sa viewers natin yung Article 7 para mas malinaw sa kanila. No? Ito yung the totality of respondents' conduct as Vice President, including her commission of the foregoing acts, clearly display conduct constituting a betrayal of public trust, culpable violations of the Constitution, and graft and corruption. Ngayon, kung pag pinag-usapan po ito sa trial, so tama ba? You will have to bring in psychiatrists and other experts to prove this. Tama po ba?
I think being experts is useful, but as lawyers say, no, one side brings an expert, the other side will also bring an expert. No? So this will be a quarrel between opinions of experts. And I don't think that's necessary. Because res ipsa loquitur speaks for itself. Her actions speak for themselves. Her utterances speak for themselves. They speak to her mental and emotional unfitness to continue operating or to continue functioning as a vice president.
Kasi attorney, this is alam niyo po ito, no? Hindi lang po ito legal but largely political, and meron siya mga enablers din dyan, di ba? Yung mga Dutertes dun sa Senado. So they might not necessarily look at it that way, even if that is the obvious way of looking at it, the most obvious way of looking at it.
Yes, because as I said, if you're strong on the facts, focus on the facts, you're strong on the law. So now, she's neither strong on the facts, she's neither strong on the law, because the law is very clear, the violation is very clear. She's now working on the judges. That's why, in a frenzy, she's going from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, even in the city of Manila, where after 1 hour of her speech, I think she even forgot to endorse the mayor. who invited who invited her to the rally. No? She was so consumed with the apple that she was holding in her hand. I mean, what does that say of fitness? No? Alam mo, itong
Ito, oo. Ito naisip ko kanina, no? Ordinarily, yung mga binabanggit nyo, no? Ginawa rin niya ng tatay si Rodrigo Duterte. So ordinarily, in an ideal circumstance or situation, dapat na-impeach din yung tatay, di ba? Because of the same demeanor that you're talking about. Tama po ba? Kasi syempre, water
Yes.
under the bridge na yon. Okay. Now, dito, merong pending disbarment case against the Vice President. Kung pag-uusapan lang talaga yung facts, you think she should be disbarred? That she doesn't deserve to stay any longer or stay on as a lawyer?
Oh yes. In fact, lawyers have been disbarred for less. Lawyers have been disbarred for intemperate language. Lawyers have been disbarred for failure to return monies to the client. Lawyers have been disbarred for immoral conduct. Lawyers have been disbarred for intemperate language, for criticizing the Supreme Court, for gender insensitive language, di ba? For disrespect, for authority. In fact, just on not only the Vice President but her Chief of Staff, no? Could also be, there also is a ground for disbarment when the Chief of Staff, si Attorney Lopez, issued a suppression letter. What is a suppression letter? I just call it a suppression letter because sometime nung August, nung ini-investigate ito sometime I think it was in August of 2024, she wrote a letter to the COA chair saying, do not respect the subpoena of the House. The subpoena disrespecting of the House. I call that suppression. And clearly, under our canons, that is interference. Interference with the process. No?
So, independent constitutional body yung COA.
Yes. And disrespect. Also, it falls under disrespect for institutions like the House. No? Also, when Attorney Lopez was served with a transfer order, remember she was detained in the House and for security reasons was being transferred to Women's Correctional. She refused. She refused to accept the transfer order. She even padlocked her detention cell and refused to let the serving authorities serve the transfer order. Worst, she induced the Vice President to act as her lawyer. That's why the Vice President was able to enter as her lawyer.
Attorney,
so
ang tanong, sorry ang tanong ko lang dyan, hindi naman to yung first time na nakita natin yung ganyang public demeanor ng Vice President, di ba? Before, nanuntok, nanapak ng sheriff yan. Napapaisip lang ako, bakit hindi pa siya na-disbar nun?
I think the public sentiment then was because she was her outrage then at the sheriff was for a good cause. In her mind, the tenants, I think these were tenants, were being unlawfully evicted. So it was outrage. It was righteous indignation. I would call that probably righteous indignation.
So
Because
that's a
even
leeway? That's a leeway provided in this particular instance? Kung
No,
righteous
that-
indignation?
No, at that time, the public sympathy was in her favor. The
Hmm.
public was sympathizing with her because she sided with the poor. Diba? She sided with the marginalized tenants. No? Pero ngayon, tama na. This outrage is too much, too many. And it is a discredit. It is a discredit to the legal profession. It's also a discredit to her position as Vice President. So, and to use intemperate language, abusive language, kasi yun ang kultura ng Pilipino, natatawa tayo. No? In this rally that she used so often, no?
Yeah.
Which really is offensive.
Yeah.
And the fact that the crowd laughed, I think, shows you how they're buying her narrative, and that's where we should be worried, because it cannot be. You cannot have a culture uh, like this. No, it's a culture of impunity where she acts very arrogant and gets away with it, and the people love it. So, well, hindi na tama ang ganun.
Yeah. Ang problema, attorney, this was normalized during the time of her father. And actually, kinikwento ko nga dito sa programa, even public officials I used to cover under previous administrations, naglabasan yung ganong ugali eh. Parang na-activate yung kanilang kabastusan because they were taking the cue from the president. And that is very unfortunate. And apparently, nandun pa rin yung remnants dahil yung vice president is still a Duterte. Diba? Ganun-ganun din yung actuations eh. Napakabastos in public. And actually, yung pananakot, diba, sa presidente, kahit sa anggulo mo tingnan yan eh, whether you're pro or anti-Duterte or wala ka na pinapanigan, eh grabe naman yun. Sinabi mo kumonta ka ng papatay at pumayag na yung presidente. Yung napatay yung presidente.
And on top of that, sabihin mo, joke lang. Parang,
I'm not sure kung tinawag niyan joke eh, no? Pero ang alam ko excuse niya after was conditional threat.
No, well, first when she was having that press conference, she even said hindi ito joke.
Hindi, nung mismong video, sabi niya, no joke, no joke.
No joke, no joke. Ngayon,
yes.
She was making light of it na conditional threat lang yun kasi hindi pa naman ako patay. At saka, sige, go ahead. Sige, convict niyo ako kung patay na ako. How will I even serve, di ba? Parang making light of it. Hindi niyo naman ako mako-convict kasi patay na ako nun kung mangyari to. But the fact that she hired an assassin by itself, separate from whether the threat was conditional or not, the fact of hiring an assassin is by itself impeachable offense.
How big a factor yung kanyang pagiging vice president at meron siyang wherewithal to actually execute that threat na yan?
Well, let's remember she came from the killing fields of Davao. There's a history. There's a history to extrajudicial killings, which continued even when she became. If we were to look at the other articles, and one of them is this Tokhang, where the articles of impeachment refer to her as being part of this cover-up for the killing fields because she continued the practice of her father, and there's evidence to that. No? So the fact that it is not an empty threat. If I were to say today, Christian, papatayin kita, what will you do? You laugh at me because I have no capacity to kill anybody.
Tsaka yung context, napaka out of naman.
Di ba?
Out of this world.
Correct. But she has the wherewithal, sabi mo nga. She has the wherewithal to do it. So yung threat na yan is not an empty threat. Add to the fact that she has psychological, mental, emotional issues.
Bunyog, halikan na kasama ka. Bunyog, kapag buklod ay may pag-asa. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, isa ang pananaw. Sa bagong Pilipinas ang bunyog isisigaw. Bunyog.